I've been told that Colin Kaepernick, he'd have to throw the ball into the stands and play like complete garbage, or run his mouth incessantly, whether it be via Instagram, Twitter, or whatever. Really, really speaking out, being vigilant, being rebellious or whatever the case may be, in order for him not to have a job in the NFL within the next week or two. Obviously, that raised an eyebrow, because here's what everybody needs to understand. This is an NFL workout. Colin Kaepernick is an unrestricted free agent. Teams are free to bring him in anytime they damn well please. The fact that this is a league-organized thing is what has everybody up in arms, because this is not how things go down. The way that things go down is the individual team usually brings you in and works you out and makes an assessment about where you are and what you're bringing to the table. That's not what's taking place here. This is league organized. Obviously, anywhere from 10 to 15 teams are expected and anticipated to show up. The only time you see something like this being conducted by the league is for the NFL scouting combine. It certainly isn't applicable to an NFL free agent who happens to be a veteran with 6 seasons in the National Football League, although he's been away for the last 3. This is what the situation is with Colin Kaepernick. Now, to me, the name that comes to my mind is JayZ and Rock Nation. Why? Because JayZ meets with Commissioner Roger Goodell. At that particular moment in time, he's excoriated all of a sudden Hove, who everybody loved. A whole bunch of folks turned against him, accusing him of selling out, turning in his black card, and all of this ridiculous nonsense. And what did he say? He said, listen, folks are going to work behind the scenes. Called the NFL office, called the Players Association, spoke to a whole bunch of people, Kaepernick side, Rock Nation, the list goes on and on. Clearly, there appears to be a collective effort that has taken place to include these teams with league participation and league approval, obviously. So it appears to be something very, very serious. And the only thing that can get in the way of Colin Kaepernick being back in the NFL is if he refuses to shut up and he goes out there and shows that he can't play. Now, just weeks ago, I saw Colin Kaepernick. Where I saw him at is none of y'all business. Here's what y'all need to know. He looked pretty damn good. He looked in tremendous shape, okay? He looked ready to go. All of this noise about how he's been working out hours upon hours every single day, all true, because he looked it. He looks like he is in phenomenal shape and ready to go. So really what this comes down to is I don't expect him to show up Saturday and to have forgotten how to throw a football, certainly to have forgotten how to run with a football, particularly when you watch guys like Lamar Jackson doing what he does with his feet, okay? You fantasize about what Colin Kaepernick can do because you saw him do it, which means to me that they're interviewing, because they did say they're going to interview him. Clearly, the interview is not going to be about salary, Max. He ain't getting any more than a minimum. He's an unrestricted free agent, hasn't played in the NFL. I've been told this morning the league minimum is around $800,000 plus. You prorated over the course of 17 games. There's 7 weeks left in the season. You're talking about anywhere from $350,000 to $375,000 that he's going to get. It's non-negotiable. So the money, the salary, is not a negotiable issue. The issue is going to be where you at. What's your mentality? You ready to play football and focus on that? That's what this interview is going to be about. We'll see what happens.
When I first heard this news, it was so bizarre, and it was even presented in such bizarre language, I didn't even understand what people meant. Wait a minute. Did Kaepernick's people set this up? It seemed intentionally left vague.
Nope.
Did teams set this up? Oh, no, wait a minute. The NFL set this up. But that's not the business of the NFL to set it up. In fact, Goodell, when he was asked about this in the past, said these kind of decisions are up to the individual clubs. Okay, so I start to think, what could this really be about? Bizarre. You know, coaches, GMs getting ready for the game on Sunday. It's on a Saturday. This doesn't make any sense. Why would you work him out then? Why were his people told, no, it's got to be this. It can't be pushed off. It must be on this date. Why don't they have a list of, why is there no knowledge of who's going to be there? So I thought to myself, okay, here's some scenarios. One, there's an owner out there and a GM, obvious front office, that wants to do this but needs cover with their fan base because it's still considered a polarizing issue for some stupid reason. And so they need cover, so they're doing this whole thing. Two, that's unlikely. More likely than that, my mind went to JayZ also, Stephen A., that maybe he is trying to broker something here. And that may be true, but I think my third thought is actually what is probably going on, in spite of what people may be saying or what maybe even JayZ is being told. I don't know. My suspicion is that there is some huge, for something like this to happen, for the NFL to leak it to the national press a day ahead of time, that's not the way normally this stuff goes down. There must be some enormous piece of business behind all of this. And maybe the CBA coming right up, right? It's looming. Some enormous piece of business, maybe a lawsuit that they're afraid of, but it has the smell to me, Stephen A., of legal butt covering by the NFL. It may be that there are also people behind the scenes trying to broker something, but I would be very surprised if, in fact, it turns out that within a week, if Kaepernick doesn't say anything, he is actually on an NFL roster. I'd be happily surprised, but surprised nonetheless.
Here's what everybody needs to understand. Colin Kaepernick filed a grievance. The grievance was settled. So the reality is that, combined with everybody in the NFL talking about Patrick Mahomes to Lamar Jackson to Deshaun Watson to Seattle, San Francisco, et cetera, folks are focused on football. The NFL did not have to, at this particular moment in time, make this move to have this workout. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.